All right, dude, we're back.
We are.
Yeah, so we'll try not to burn it all down today, but
Try not to.
the world's aflame, brother.
You think? I mean, it's definitely, it's not the place I remember growing up in. Like, we've lost our mind, collectively. I feel like it's gotten a little bit out of control, man. I mean, it really
it's
has.
out of control. So, crazy couple weeks here. The first thing is, it seems like we always end up saying this, but we're going to really address it. So, is he or is he not going to run? And apparently, he is going to make a video announcement.
Yeah.
That he's going to run for president.
From
the fucking basement?
I mean, at a certain point in time, the handlers have to say, you might want to call it quits, dude. I mean, he's cognitively not there. There's all this shit that's coming out now about all this money that was paid.
Will it ever come out, though?
Well, that's what pisses me off. Like, they ask questions, like direct questions to whatever her name is. And she's like, I'm not going to say anything about that.
John Pear?
Yeah, like she's not going to say. It's like, okay, well, there's an IRS whistleblower. There's bank records that show these payments were made. Well, I'm just not going to comment on those lies. Well, they're bank records. They're not lies. They're actual records that show payments were made from Chinese energy companies to Biden family members. So how's that a lie? It's a record. It's a fact.
On the face
comment
of it,
on it.
How is
Right.
how is that indisputable? It's not.
Because they can dispute anything they want. If it doesn't fit what they want it to fit, that's how politics has become. If it doesn't fit the narrative, they're like, oh, it's a lie. Is it? Here's the record. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
If the Clinton shit with Lewinsky happened today, would it really even be a big blip on the radar?
No. No. They wouldn't give a shit about it. Now, if that was Trump, oh my God. Like, the country would burn down. And that's the problem. There's a double standard in politics right now. I'm not saying the Republicans are innocent. I mean, they do shit just as bad. But it's like, I just don't, like, if you're going to talk shit on Trump because of the way he conducts himself, you got to talk shit on Biden too. He can't conduct himself. Like,
I don't think he can wipe himself right now.
I don't understand. Like, you hear him.
Sorry.
When he's become that many memes on the internet, like, he's like, what was the one? Half of the females in my office are females. It's like, what? Like, he just says like random shit, and it's like, okay, like, how can anybody look at this guy and say he's sharp as a tack and cognitively there to run the most powerful country in the world? Answer me that.
I've been saying it for years. I didn't know how he was running in the first place. He didn't seem like, back in leading up to 2020, it did not look like he had it all together. It just didn't.
No.
And here we are 4 years. He has physically survived the 4 years, but he's much more impaired now than he was when he took office. Yet we, as a people, seem to be a portion of our society just ignoring it or pretending that's not the case, or just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Which then leaves the other half of society going, are we living in bizarro world?
We are. Let's just call it like it is. We are in bizarro world. That's what I feel.
And the bigger thing is, he's on the national stage. We've said it before. Russia, Ukraine, China. These are not small problems. Now the Sudan's acting up again. Like, he is uno number one, right? At least we think the president's uno number one in the decision-making process to protect the nation.
Yeah.
That can't lead any reasonable thinking adult feeling comfortable about the circumstance of our protection.
Well, no. I mean, we become I don't know if you saw, this was a few weeks ago, but they were showing ads in Russia, like bus stop ads for like old age homes, and had Biden's picture on it. Like, they were using it to like advertise like for like nursing homes. And it was like his picture on it. So we become the laughing stock. Like, that's the problem. Like, it's like, again, like, you don't want to see any president fail. They're running this country, and you want to see every president that's appointed succeed. But at a certain point in time, we as a country have to have some self-awareness and say, this dude is not the right guy. Anybody would be better than him right now.
Yeah. And I looked at that entire party, the Democratic Party, and asked, is there no one paying attention? Is anybody at the wheel? I mean, there are some brilliant minds brilliant liberal minds, brilliant democratic, self-affirmed democratic think tanks. Are there not better people to run that party?
I don't think he's running anything. I think it's all happening in the background.
So let's unpack that.
I think
he thinks back there.
I don't have any idea, to be honest with you, but I just think it's not him. He's not there. It's his handlers, whoever's really running the show.
Who could that be?
The shadow
his
government?
Wife?
Who knows? I mean, I don't. That's a great question. I mean, there's so many other agencies
Susan
out
Rice?
there that are, because when you think about it, I was reading it. It was an article where I watched a documentary. They were talking about, they were kind of really breaking down the presidency and saying, like, they don't know everything. Like, they don't get to know all of the secrets, because they're there for 4 years. Like, the agencies are really what run the government. The ones that are there for 20, 30 years. He doesn't know
where the aliens are.
Probably. Right. But when you think about it, like, that made sense. It's like, okay, yeah, like, that's right. These are, like, small-time, like, short-term positions where you have these agencies, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, where these people are there for decades.
Institutions, right?
They're the institutions of this government, so they're probably not. Those are the ones that are really controlling what's going on. I think the president's there for a short time, position, 4 to 8 years max. So they're not. I don't think they're the ultimate decision maker.
But day to day, there has to be. I mean, the buck has to stop somewhere. Left or right turn has to be made at some point. And if he's not doing it,
well, the Republicans have done a shitty job of, like, calling him to task right now. Like, if you saw those documents that were released from the Pentagon, like, there's troops over there apparently, and, like, he did not get congressional approval for that. So how are they not calling him to task? How are they not impeaching that? Like, these are impeachable offenses in my opinion. Like, no one's calling him to task.
Is there something? So behind that, is there something that both sides know is going on that they don't want to blow up for national security purposes?
Like, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, could we be on the brink of World War III? Who the fuck knows?
The reason I say that is because I'm sure every administration has been involved in some kind of, even when it's in peacetime, there are covert operations that should never be made public.
Right, but this isn't coming. This is a war going on, and we sent troops over to help Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's what was released in those documents, I believe. In which was basically getting involved in a war, not a covert operation, not going in and, like, doing a rescue mission or providing aid. It's like in getting our troops involved on the ground in a war. That takes congressional approval, which you did not even go to Congress for.
So we have boots on the ground there.
That's what those documents said.
So talk about those documents. What was the story there?
Some, like, young kid within the Pentagon released these documents of, like, it was like just documents that said a lot of shit that no one knew was going on. I didn't get into a ton of detail. That was one of the things I saw that it was there. It was because we had been saying there's no troops on the ground. We're not involved in the war. We're just providing aid. And these documents show there were actual troops on the ground in Ukraine, which is a violation of I can't remember the name of the act, but he didn't get congressional approval to do that.
Right. The War Powers Act?
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of it. So again, like, we're just not calling him to task. Like, everything Trump did, he was called to task for. Like, if Trump took a shit in the wrong bathroom, he got called to task for it. It's,
speaking of that,
I mean, it's just like, and now it's like, what is going on?
Okay, let's make the right turn, because this is going to get interesting here. So speaking of wrong bathrooms, what are we doing?
Listen, man.
Every day, it's more people deciding that the laws of nature just don't apply anymore.
Right.
The party, the political philosophy, those who subscribe to a liberal agenda or a liberal mindset, or, for lack of political discussions, the Democratic side of the aisle.
Yeah.
The party that has always at the forefront of just about all of their stuff. Extol the virtue of science, the party of science.
Yeah.
Even 3 years ago when it came to vaccines and how to handle COVID. Science. Yep. All of a sudden now, how a human being feels or denies their own science, evidence of science.
Biology. Which is a field of science, I believe.
Last time I checked.
I took that class in high school.
Now all of a sudden, feelings rule the day.
Yeah, this whole bathroom issue, like I have an issue with. I have daughters, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, like they're saying now there's laws in place where if you're a man that identifies as a female, you're a trans woman, you can use a woman's bathroom. Like, I have a problem with that because, one, like I have daughters, like they're young, like, and they see a man walk in there. What do you tell them? Like, how do you explain to them, right? And like I'm a dad, and like I will protect my daughters through hell or high water. Not saying anybody has, a nefarious intention, but you don't know. There's crazy people out there, right? And my whole thing is if
it's just not appropriate.
No, and if these companies want to play to the feelings of, a small portion of society, then spend the money and create a third bathroom. Mm-hmm. Like, do that. Mm-hmm. Like, you should not be infringing upon others' rights, in my opinion. Like that to me, it's biology. It's biology. Let's just be real. It's regardless of how many gender identities there are, there's a certain biology to a male and a female. Mm-hmm. And if a biological male walks into a female's bathroom while my daughters are in there, I'm going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. Like, plain and simple. I'll just say, like, how is that simple statement not something that most reasonable people can understand? I don't know, and that's because I have no problem with how you want to identify, whatever. That's your choice. It's not my choice, right? I have a problem when it could impact my children, when it could create a potential danger to my children. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't assume anything. I can't assume everybody has good intentions. I can't assume anything. There are crazy people out there, There are adults that pretend to be kids to try and, lure 14-year-old girls to have sex with them. Like that, there's crazy people out there. So you can't sit there and say, well, no, if someone identifies as a trans woman, they should be allowed, and we shouldn't have to think about that. We shouldn't. It's wrong to even think that they would have some bad intention. No, it's not. You can think every human being has a streak of evil in them. It's who knows how to control it and who doesn't. And that's my problem. Like, if I'm at a bathroom and my daughters are in there and I see a male go in there, I will identify as a trans woman in that moment and walk in there to make sure they are safe. Like, plain and simple. Like, that is my job as a dad, to protect those two girls. Mm-hmm. And I will do that through hell or high water.
We are so we are so now uber aware of everybody's feelings.
Yeah. Yes.
To the point where we say it so often, but it's true. I mean, the whims of a few are now having a disproportionate effect on the many. It's not a catchphrase. That is what is observable. For those paying attention, that is what is observable now. It's the feelings of a small portion of society have been elevated to a level of importance which is making the rest of society at great expense and great consternation.
Yeah.
Now appease. And it just doesn't make, in terms of the business of life, the process of life, you're fucking it up. It's just, we got other things to worry about.
Got bigger problems to worry about. Yes. We have a lot
than how you feel as a human being.
Right.
You shouldn't be I don't want discrimination.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about many times, we both are on the same page here. We want people to live and believe and feel about themselves, whatever makes them fucking happy.
Exactly. Yes.
If you want to be a turnip, you can be a fucking turnip.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly.
When your desire to be a turnip starts affecting my family or starts really infringing on just the normal day in, day out life that we have.
Yeah.
In a way that's disproportionate, that we deem as disproportionate, then we got a fucking problem here.
Yeah, I agree completely. I completely agree with that. And it's I don't know when we started legislating based upon feelings. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, it's like
it hasn't made us kinder.
No, it's not.
It was supposed to.
We've become a more like
caustic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's the word I'm looking for. Like, more like, we're so prone to attack now. Like, everybody's looking for a reason to be victimized or offended instead of just looking at the good in the world, right? Like, there's always going to be assholes. There's always going to be people that say offensive things. But if you want to feel victimized or offended, you will feel victimized and offended. If you want to feel happy and joyous, you will find the good in life and feel happy and joyous. It is your perspective to choose, and people need to understand that. Like, you get that choice. When I wake up every day, I get to choose, do I want to be happy today or do I want to be offended today? Whichever I choose, I can have. And so many people they want to feel offended because it makes them feel important, instead of looking at just be happy. Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, maybe we all have problems. We all have problems, right? But we have to learn how to deal with these things. And we have to address certain problems in this country. And we do have to address mental health. And we have to address a lot of things. But we can't start legislating based upon, like you said, the whims of a few. It's not right. It's not how the world works.
It's never been right in the history of mankind.
No, it's not.
If you do history in a big way, which I don't daily, but I've been told when I've sought out opinions from historians, people that study history, there's no recorded this kind of behavior by society is so odd in the way that we're elevating feelings, and we're also elevating positions of a very small slivers of society.
Yes.
Not to discriminate. No. It isn't discrimination. In fact, you can make the argument that the rest of society is being discriminated by the small sliver of society.
Yeah, I mean,
and in this instance, it's not even a biological makeup. It's not a skin color. It's not a gender. It's basically the feelings of a small group of people.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we've got to a point. I mean, we've got to a point in the country where we've said, like, however you feel or whatever you feel you are, and we should expect that. And that's the issue I have, where, you know, too many people have got to the point where they feel like they can't say anything because of the repercussions of saying something. This is a country based upon the freedom of speech, right? We should be able to say what we feel without the fear of being canceled. Like, that is the point of this country. Look at comedians, like how they get abused if they say something wrong, and it's sad because we've lost our sense of humor in this country. We've lost our sense of being happy, like. And it sucks because it creates this world where it's like this black cloud or this gray cloud's always over it because we let it, and we're not doing anything to change it.
No, we're turning into a bunch of miserable fucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Because we're just fighting with each other.
Right. I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. Like, I know what I believe in. You can believe what you want to believe in. Cool.
Okay. So I jotted down some statements that I heard this weekend. I thought they were very interesting. Let me just read, if I can read my own writing. Let me rattle off some of these. A biological male is now the Woman of the Year on several national magazines. A biological male is also a top-ranking female at the White House.
Correct.
A biological male is now the NCAA's Women's Swimmer of the Year. A biological male has made thousands of dollars being the face of femininity, the woman's face for Nike, Bud Light, Kate Spade, others, but especially the one that's puzzling is Tampax.
Right.
How can a biological male be the spokesperson, the face, the product face for Tampax? What kind of fucking bizarro shit is that? This is the man on the street talking here. Me.
Listen,
what kind of bizarro shit is that? Where does the Tampax get inserted in a biological male?
I don't know. Like, that one puzzles me. Like, because we've lost our collective mind as a fucking country. We've just lost our collective mind.
I don't get it, man.
Like, that's fucking insane.
Okay, I'll continue. A biological male has now won Best Actress in the Golden Globes, which is fantastic. And the argument can be made, are you really trying to say that feminists, the feminist movement, as you and I grew up and were aware of it, how do they feel about it? Are they supporting women? If they're quiet and they're not contesting any of this bullshit, how is that in support of women? Dare I say, traditional women?
Yeah. I mean,
is that even a thing?
I saw that video of that woman speaking. I can't remember her name, but she's 100% correct, and she states is where are all the feminists when how can we say feminists still support women when they're either staying silent or cheering on biological males to be better females than females are?
Oh, the biological males, some are taking over the female space in society. Now, you can say, oh, it's just a small sliver. Well, if it's such a small sliver of people getting their feelings hurt, then why are you imposing all this fucking bullshit on the rest of society?
Yes, and how are the feminists not angry about that?
Bingo. Like what does feminism mean anymore? Like,
I don't know. That's a great question.
Gloria Steinem's still with us? Is she? She's not. She's still alive, right?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, shouldn't she be saying something? Shouldn't?
I don't, it's the women's sports thing is what frustrates me the most. Like the issue I have, and it's like, first of all, you don't see any trans men competing in men's sports. Let's just call it like it is, right? You don't see that, right? Biological males are just physically different than biological females, right? All these trans women now that are competing in women's sports were mediocre male athletes. Like mediocre. Now, one of them was a top-ranked male athlete in their field of specialty, and decided, you know what, I feel like a woman. I'm gonna compete in women's sports now. They were mediocre at best, and now they're competing in women's sports. And I saw this video which I showed you, and it hit me. Like it was a video. It was I don't know who the company was. There was a kind of a competing ad to the Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney thing. And it was this little girl talking, and it hit me like so hard as a dad of daughters. And it's like, I wanted to be the fastest runner. My dad always told me growing up, like, you can be the best. You can be the best. And, I spent my whole life working and, practicing, and I knew I was something special. And you see her getting the starting blocks, and a trans woman, a biological male, is in the starting blocks next to her and blows her away. And she's like, the hard work wasn't enough. The dedication, the sacrifice wasn't enough. And it's, how is that fair? And I look at that as like, Title IX was created to protect women in sports. And like, how are we allowing this to happen? Like, I look at like Melina, right? My daughter, she's in karate, right? She's 9 years old. Eventually she'll do tournaments. What happens if she, is 15, 16 years old, black belt, competing in karate tournaments, and now a biological male who is a trans female now competes against her? They are physically stronger, like that's just how it is. And I'm supposed to think that's okay. She would not be safe. Like, that would be a safety issue to me. And like, that's what infuriates me. Like, we've got to take a step back and say, what the fuck are we doing?
Oh, I want to pick on the Democrats again, because it's just pretty obvious to me. The party that extolled the concept of leveling the playing field for society, right? That the society does not give enough opportunities to those. Level the playing field, make it quote unquote fair. Fair is their world, right?
Correct.
Fair is the world of the liberal mindset.
Yes.
The world needs to be more fair.
Correct.
By permitting a biological male to enter female sports, you're doing the exact opposite.
Yes, exactly.
You're creating the most unfair
absolutely
playing field imaginable.
Absolutely right.
All for the guise of protecting the feelings of a small group of Americans or humans.
Correct, yes.
The feelings. You're just protecting their emotional state.
Yep.
You're not protecting anything physically with them.
No.
It's just their emotional state.
Exactly
We're
right.
upsetting the entire fucking order of society.
Yep.
We're upsetting the order of it.
Absolutely.
For their feelings.
100%. And that's the problem I have.
That are fleeting. They're whims. They may not feel this way next week.
Yeah.
That's just the human condition. But we're changing society. And I guess half the society's for it, half isn't, but I really don't believe half is for it.
No.
I think folks are afraid to speak about it because you're demonized. I'm not, but you're demonized by expressing your feeling. And we're not coming from a position of hate. We're not coming from a position of hurt. I don't give a shit if you want to be a turn up. Again, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't
common sense has to come back and start steering the fucking bus.
Don't tell me the sky is not blue.
Right.
Don't tell me the sky is purple.
I've just the whole, because you're right. The Democratic Party is always about equality. Okay. Well, how the fuck is it?
It's the furthest thing.
Is it equality when you let a biological male who's riddled with testosterone, you know, whether you're taking hormones of transition or not, right? Biological males are just built physically different. There are things I cannot do that a woman can do. How can that
be deniable?
It's not deniable. It's fucking science. It's biology. Sorry, it is
science
what it is.
That they stole as being
correct. So how can we sit there and say that is fair when we instituted Title IX to make sure women's sports were fair, so men couldn't compete in them? Now what the fuck? Now we're letting biological males who identify as females compete and destroy them. Like, and it's gotten so ridiculous. I don't know if you saw the powerlifter in Canada, which is actually kind of funny what he did. So Canada has a rule, like, you can't even question
Trudeau
it.
land.
You can't even, if someone identifies as a female, you fucking can't question it. It's like, it's total discrimination. There was a powerlifting meet in Canada, okay? And this dude, like bald head, beard, like 300 pounds, decided on the day of the meet he was identifying as a female and destroyed every fucking record by like hundreds of pounds. And the records were held by a trans woman, by a male that identified as a female, and went and broke all these records. Then he went and destroyed these records by 100 pounds, and this trans woman was all pissed off about it and was like making a big stink about it. It's like, nope, too fucking bad. That's the rule, right? Like,
I love it.
And it was like he did it out of a mockery.
Because
it's like, come on, let's get back to common sense.
It's insanity.
Like, how about you create a division for trans? Like,
I'm all for that.
Like, okay, like that's fair.
Yeah, that's the
level the playing field. Level the playing field.
Create a new playing field.
Yeah, or do that. Yeah, create the new playing field, because it's not
logical. It's logical and fair.
Think about that. If one of my daughters decided she wanted to be like a track star and spend her whole life dedicated to running and working. Men are just biologically faster. We have more fast twitch muscles in our legs, so we can. That's why men's times are always faster than women's, right? And say my daughter spends all this time and effort and gets a college scholarship and and then goes up in a championship and a biological male who identifies as a female competes and destroys her by a few seconds. Like, how is that fair? Like, what do you tell someone?
Like, what you can't tell them.
All that hard work doesn't matter. Like, you dedicated your entire life to something. You made all these sacrifices to be the best. And then because, a biological male transitioned to a female, and now the government allows them to compete in female sports, your hopes and dreams are gone. Mm-hmm. Like, how is that fucking fair? Like, we have to, everybody out there has to, take a step back and, find that common sense in your brain, regardless of your viewpoints, left or right. There's a common sense element to this. And you got to say to yourself, is that fair? Mm-hmm. Put yourself in that shoes. If you're a female and you've dedicated your life to a sport and you get to the apex of that sport and a biological male that identifies as a female comes in and just fucking destroys you, is that okay? Are you okay with that?
It's horrid.
It's okay to say it on the sidelines. Yes, that's, trans. Okay, but put yourself in their shoes. Like to that woman's that video. Like, how are women okay with a biological male who dresses up as a little girl being the face of womanhood for these major brands? Tampax. Are you fucking kidding me? Like when I say that out loud, I feel like I'm in a fucking different dimension. Like, how is that real?
Yeah, and it's like, and we're in a position where when we state the obvious, that can get ridicule and scorn from those who buy into this insanity.
Yeah,
like,
and it becomes,
but so is what we're talking about really a deeper issue? Is is it a religion? In terms of what we define a religion, is the woke or the radical left agenda where the world really needs to be turned upside down. Right is right is wrong, wrong is right, red is blue, blue is red. I don't like the word cult.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't like the word religion either. But is it really what we're talking about, a religion?
Potentially.
It's a belief structure.
It's a belief structure that people want to feel belonging to.
That is really strong, and people defend it to the point where they, I won't say they lay down their lives, but they get very volatile about it. Yeah. It has every making of a religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
The religion
of
woke.
That way. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way.
I mean, I didn't create the word woke. I'm not really even sure I know exactly what it means.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't really care, but I know what I see and what gets labeled toward that, which, if that word had not existed, I would just think that it's been the progression of ultra-left mindset. That's what I've always known left mindset to be. And some greats come out of left thinking. There's been some great contributions to society in that, taking things and twisting them around and trying to figure different things out. But it's gone off the fucking rails now with this shit. This is insanity.
Complete insanity.
It's complete insanity.
It is. But I think the tide will turn, or is turning somewhat. Because I think people are tired of it. People are tired of it. Because again, like, it is, here's the thing. I think the majority of Americans, I don't really give a fuck what you do. I don't really give a fuck what you believe. Like, that's cool. Like, stay out of my lane. I'll stay out of yours. Like, I'm not going to offend you. Don't offend me.
Live and let live.
Exactly. Like, but I think when you start pushing your shit on me and on my children, saying, you have to believe this, you have to respect this, or you are a fucking demon, that's where the problems come up. And that's what I'm starting to see in society. People have had enough. Like, more and more people are starting to speak up and saying, like, I don't give a shit if you want to be this way or that way or identify as this. I give a shit when you make my life have to now cater to you. Just stay in your lane. I'll stay in mine, and I'll be friends with you. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm a happy person. I'm kind. I would never look down upon anyone. I would never be mean to anyone. Like, if you identify, I don't care. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. I respect your opinion, right, and your viewpoint. What bothers me is when you tell me I have to believe a certain thing because you believe it. That's just wrong. Like, that's not right.
The rest of the world should not kowtow to the feelings of a small group of people.
No.
And it's not like they're being discriminated. Bull fucking shit. Right. I'll make the argument that's not the case. Has there been discrimination toward gay and lesbian people? I'm sure there has been. Sure. I'm sure of it. Has there been discrimination against other groups of people in this country? 100%. But you can't conflate whims as something that, because it's a fucking whim. If it's your feelings, even it's only about your feelings, that's fleeting.
Yeah.
Feelings come and fucking go. Your skin color doesn't.
Correct.
Your biological gender doesn't.
Correct. Yes.
Right? But your feelings are kind of fucking fleeting.
Yeah.
And to basically turn the world upside down to accommodate that, so you don't get your feelings hurt. Yeah. I'm not in. I'm not in for that.
And here's the
I'm not buying into that.
That just popped in my head as I'm thinking through it. As a lawyer, right? The lawyer in me. So we have protected categories in this country for discrimination, right? Like, I'm going to be curious to see when these lawsuits start popping up of guys that get fired and say, I identified as a female. This was gender discrimination.
Why can't it happen?
I'm sure it's going to start happening. Like, I'm sure it's going to start happening.
It's good for the goose.
Like, here's what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be a white male that does it the first time, and people are going to be like, oh, that's bullshit. But it's, what I mean? Because it doesn't fit the narrative, right? It's, it's just, there's going to be some shit that's going to happen, I think, that has to blow this whole thing up and get us back to fucking reality. Like, you can believe whatever you want, you can be whatever you want, but there are certain fundamental things that don't change, right? Biology, your biological makeup is your biological makeup. That's just how it is.
It's
sorry.
It's the crapshoot of life, man. Correct. You get what you get.
Correct. And like, you can't like, it just blows my mind. The fact that we have to even have these discussions blows my mind. The fact that, and the other thing, like, we talk about discrimination, but people statistics don't discriminate. And like, we have to think about that too. Like, there are statistically more types of people than other types of people. So if 30% of the world is made up of this and 30% of a job force is made up of that same, how's that discrimination? Like, if they make up 30% of the population, do they have to be 50% of the workforce, or that's discrimination? No, like, you have to look at statistics, right? Like, we don't want to do that because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Not convenient. Because it hurts feelings.
Well, it doesn't fit the narrative. Same thing with the shooting that happened last week in Alabama, right? None of the media really picked it up because it didn't fit the narrative. The guns were gotten illegally. They weren't purchased legally, so it couldn't be a gun control issue. It was now, this flies in the face of the narrative because even with strict gun laws, they still got it fucking illegally and shot up a fucking birthday party.
Well, what about the police reports and the data from the trans
murder? The Nashville thing, I saw that the FBI just said they were supposed to release the manifesto.
Why hasn't that been released?
But they're not now because, and from my understanding from a couple of things I read, and again, I don't know, this is just secondhand knowledge, they're saying because it's a mental health issue. Like, if you read this manifesto, you're going to see how mentally fucked up this person was. Again, doesn't fit the narrative. Like, they want the narrative to be about gun control. And it's like, we have a mental health problem in this country. Like, people that commit these types of shootings are something's mentally, whether you're trans or not, like, there's a mental health issue. Like, we have to fix that. Like, we have to start looking at the bigger picture, not just like, let's take the guns. Because a criminal's still a criminal. Mm-hmm. They're still going to get the guns. Mm-hmm. Mental health is still going to be there. Like, we have to figure out how to fix that problem. How do we help people?
Yeah, bingo. And again, I'll state for the record till I'm fucking blue in the face. I don't care what anybody does.
No.
If you want to, pretend you're a farm animal. I mean, I liken this to the whole furries thing. The furries, they, everybody laugh. I mean, first time I heard about it, I thought it was like the craziest thing in the world. But I didn't think it was harming anybody.
No, it's what they like.
And so I'm not conflating a trans person to a furry. What I'm saying is they're acting out what they feel.
Yes, of course.
Whether they're doing it in humor, whether they're doing it for real, I don't know their intentions.
Yeah.
But a trans person is acting out how they feel inside. I'm okay with it.
Absolutely.
I'm just not going to turn my world upside down for your fucking feelings.
Correct. Exactly.
But it isn't just you. I'm not going to turn my world upside down for the furries if they want to start changing society and making furry accommodations. Right. Do you see the logic here? I'm not going to do it for anybody.
Yes.
I'm going to be civil and kind and hopefully expect the same back.
Exactly. That's it.
Don't upset society because you feel a certain way. Yeah. Feelings are fleeting, man.
Yeah. Like, if I'm hungry, is the world supposed to stop and make sure I'm fed? Like, is everybody supposed to stop their doing and make sure I'm fed? Because my feelings, like, I feel really hungry and I'm angry now because I'm hungry. So all of you should stop and make sure I'm fed. Then you can go back about your business.
And I'm sorry there's been discrimination with people I'm sorry for all discrimination.
Yeah.
Eric McKenna's not going to fix the whole thing.
No,
I can't take the weight of society's ills, and not every citizen should be burdened emotionally.
Correct.
For your emotional baggage.
Correct. I agree completely.
That's not fair.
Right.
What about the fairness for the rest of society?
Yeah.
Like, you want your fairness because you've been egreged. At least mentally you think you have been. But what about the fairness of your egreged feelings being imposed on the rest of us?
It doesn't fucking matter. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, so I hate to even go into the whole transitioning thing. Thank God my daughter. I don't know what I would do if I was in your position. I mean, my daughter's now 20, so. But if this had happened like 15 years ago and this shit was going on in public schools.
Yeah, I mean, it's my job to teach my daughters what I believe, and they'll make their own decisions. And I would never tell my kids how to believe, right? I want them to be independent thinkers, but I want to also instill in them logic and reason. Like, that's how I look at it as a parent. Like, my job is to teach them logic and reason and critical thinking, and then they'll make their own decisions, right? If my daughters decide they want to do something or be something, that's for them to choose, right? But it's my job to teach them basic logic, reasoning, and critical thinking. And I would think if I do that, a lot of the shit will kind of just work itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. You think this is all just a society's big cry for attention? And
I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of it is. Look, I think there are definitely people have feelings, and I don't know because I don't have those feelings. I'm not disputing them. I'm not discounting them at all. Like, that's it. I also think there are there are other things at play. Like there are cries for attention. There are wanting to feel significant. There are because everybody wants to feel significant. As a human being, you want to feel some level of significance. And I think some people maybe don't feel significant, and it's
I get it.
You know, and it's unfortunate. Like, and this is what I think too. Like I believe as a society, we should be more open to conversation and talking about this stuff, and not in an angry or caustic way, like you say, but in a, can we come to a solution? Can we figure out why this is all going on? And not, if I don't believe in what you believe, that doesn't make me a bad person, right? It just means I have different viewpoints, right? Like there's conservatives and liberals. There's, 2A people, non-2A people. There's First Amendment, non-First Amendment people. Like it doesn't make either one of those sides bad. We have to be able to get back to having conversations, to really try and understand root causes. And that's what we're not doing, because we've gotten so violent and so angry, and you can't even have those conversations, right? Because it makes people uncomfortable. We have to get past that uncomfortableness to actually solve problems. Like that's how you solving large problems is an uncomfortable thing, because you got to have the hard discussions, the ones that people don't want to have. You got to say the things people don't want to hear. And people don't want to do that right now. They're too emotional about things.
Well, we're lacking two things in the way we think. We're lacking sophistication, and we're lacking the complexity. And both of those are needed to solve big problems.
Yes.
And we just don't extol those virtues in our day in, day out life on a general basis. We just don't do it.
Yeah, and it's so hard to understand everything. And it's like, I've gotten to the point where, like, I'm going to understand what I understand, and I'm not going to spend too much time trying to understand everything else. If I need to, I will. But it's things change so fast in this country right now, and like the beliefs and what's right and what's wrong, and it's just, how are you supposed to keep up with this shit? Like it's gotten out of control.
So, some of the coolest people in my life are some of my gay friends.
Yeah.
Some of them are assholes, but I'll tell you if you're an asshole too. Because there's assholes everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
But like, that is like, that is not the issue we're talking about today. We're talking about unreasonableness.
Yeah.
Which then causes fights and consternation and it's insanity.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. It's complete insanity, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for the first NBA player, or maybe one of the players that's playing in the World Basketball Association, to decide that they're going to be a trans woman and go play in the WNBA.
Yeah,
and I think when that happens, then maybe, because the scale and the scope of that might open some eyes, because it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to just start opening our eyes to, like, take the feelings aside and look at it from a purely objective standpoint, right?
I can't believe you have to encourage people to do that, but
right.
we have
to. It's we're looking at things too subjectively and too much from a qualitative standpoint as opposed to objective and quantifiable. And it's like, if you look at things from a quantifiable perspective, it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense, right? If you are a 6'2", 240-pound male with a biological male makeup, but you identify as a female and you now want to go play women's lacrosse, is that fucking right objectively? That person's going to kill somebody. Like, lacrosse is a violent sport, right? Like, I played it briefly and had no idea what I was doing, and I got my ass handed to me, and I was a 210-pound, athletic person, like, playing with other guys. Like, think about that. 6'2", 240 pounds, identifies as a female, decides they want to play women's lacrosse for the NCAA. Like, they're going to kill somebody. And then what do we do? Is that right? Do we say, well, no, there's a certain level of objective reality that we have to get back to, and like a safety concern. There? Yeah, there has to be. There fucking has to be, or this country's done in 20 years. Like, we're done in 20 years.
I think
the robots will fucking take over.
I think it's very unhealthy when a section of mankind starts blurring genders. I think that's a bad, slippery slope.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I feel like we're the only country on this planet that is doing that, and that's why we are being looked at differently around the world.
Canada's there.
Well, Canada's really a country.
I don't know.
Canada's
That's America's
like,
hat.
Yeah, I mean, they're just up there. It's just like,
sorry. Yeah. I got relatives up there.
That's fine.
You're not America's hat. If you are a hat, you're a top.
Cool place.
You're a top hat.
I've been there a bunch of times. It's a cool place.
That's terrible. All right, right turn. Alec Baldwin. The real reason I bring this guy up is because there's a article out that he has his own film company following him around the time he spends finishing the Rust filming. Okay, and the idea is he's going to do a documentary on what he has gone through in this circumstance. And my only answer to that whole thing when I read it was, well, of course he is. He is so full of himself.
Yes.
And so is most of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to make a documentary about what they've gone through.
Yeah, you fucking killed somebody, and
that doesn't matter.
You got off because you're a celebrity. So how about you just let it rest and let the families and the people that, the loved ones of the people that died or the person that died just have peace. Like, why do you have to rehash this? Like, get over yourself. You're fucking washed up. Go away.
Yeah, that's pretty much echoes my statement.
Like, like that to me is like, and again, this is the problem with fucking society. Like, it's like, it's one thing. Here's where I look at it, because I don't want to say people are all full of themselves, because I think there are certain things to educate. Like, if it was a documentary where he was going to educate on like gun safety, or like there was a point to the documentary, like, hey, like this is, this was a bad thing that happened. Here's what went wrong. Here's how movies set should be done. Like, that would be great. Like, I would be all for that, right? It's educating so it doesn't happen. There would be a good window
to jump through.
Right. So it doesn't happen. This is going to be about like, oh, poor me. I went through this. Like, I killed somebody. Like, that to me is like, no. Like, again, like, and this is the problem. This is why some celebrities are great, and they use their platform for good. Like Mark Wahlberg is someone like I follow, and what I like about him, like, he was, party kid and like turned his life around, like become this superstar businessman, family man, religious man, and he talks about that. And like, I like the guy. Like, I think he's a good actor. He's funny. He's a smart business person.
Yeah, for sure.
On social media, he's doing amazing things, and he's very, like, you could tell he loves his family. He loves God. Like, use your platform for that, right? To spread positivity.
Right.
The Rock kind of does the same thing, right? He got a little bit political during the election, which, stay out of politics, I think, in my mind. But when you have celebrities do that, like, oh, woe is me, like, I killed somebody, poor me. No. Like, let that one go. Like, you got off, just go away. And like, that's the shit that bothers me. There are a lot of celebrities that do that. It has to be about them. That's how
they become and maintain their celebrity. That's just baked into the whole thing.
Yeah, but I think I think where I think someone like Alec Baldwin is missing is, like, he's not paying attention to what's going on out there, right?
Well, he's smarter than everybody.
He's not. He's not. I mean,
Alex thinks Alex is smarter.
Well,
than
yeah,
everybody.
he thinks he is. But look at like you look at people like the Mark Wahlbergs of the world, the Rocks, like, they understand where the attention is. It's on social media, and they understand how to get that attention to be a positive influence, right? They understand that this guy is like, you're just making a laughing stock of yourself now. Like, no one, first of all, people are like, what the fuck? You killed somebody. And they're like, oh, he's going to get off because he's a fucking celebrity. And he did. And now he's going to make a documentary about what he went through. Who gives a fuck? Like, that's just a slap in the face to the victim and the victim's family. Like, that's bullshit. Like, and he's not paying attention to what reality is.
It takes a lot of colonies to do that.
It takes a big set of fucking balls.
I'm just like, that is just something. But of course, I mean, should we expect anything less?
No,
I mean,
we shouldn't.
When are we going to quit making stupid people famous?
I mean, the Bud Light. I mean, it's a guy dressing up as a little girl and got endorsement deals from women's products. And Bud Light, one of the most iconic American, like, country rock and roll brands, said,
Spuds
hey,
McKenzie, man.
Hey, let's do this. They lost, what, $6 billion of value so far. And like, people, like, I know people in my life that were avid Bud Light drinkers will never touch it again, simply because of that. And it's not anything about trans, non-trans, it's about you missed the fucking mark. Like, that's not who your customers are.
But see, I have to say, I give the movements a lot of credit, because if you think about it, you have a movement based upon feelings, with a very, very small portion of society that doesn't, and it doesn't run against skin color, religion. It obviously doesn't run against gender. It's just small little, but they have bullied society.
Oh yeah. Yep.
To capitulation in many circumstances. And now society's starting to like shake their head and realize, wait, what?
Yeah.
Society's starting to push back, and now they're aggrieved. So it's fascinating when you take that 100-mile look at it, step back and you look. It's impressive. I mean, they should be studied. Marketing majors should study how they've done this.
Yeah.
They have bludgeoned a very small, specific view and intimidated the rest of the world to not push back on it. And they just keep bludgeoning, seeing how much they can get, pushing and pushing and pushing, where eventually logic tells you the rest of society is going to stop the nonsense. We don't know if we're at that tipping point, if it's coming. Maybe it isn't coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating thing what they've been able to do. I applaud the maneuver.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I think it's very bad for society. I think there's other ways to promote non-discrimination and other things that are better for society than becoming what you say you hate. I mean, when you fight, when an activist uses the tactics that they deplore to get their way, they essentially are becoming what they despise.
Yeah.
And that has never served society well.
No, I mean, I don't even know where we are in society anymore, man. It's almost impossible to
right now we're at the end.
Yes.
And this was a good session.
This was good, man. This
is very good. And the next time you will see us will be in probably 10-ish days. And there'll be plenty of announcements up until that time. We're definitely going live.
Yep.
We're going to be doing the show live weekly. We tentatively know the weeknight, but we're not going to state it yet. We're leaning toward Tuesday.
Yep.
But we will have plenty to go on. It will be a live show, which we hope will involve, online commentaries on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and a couple others. And down the line, who knows? We're going to see how it goes. The concept of a call in, and maybe we'll get a producer in here to help us out so we can really kind of do some of the things we were able to do on radio, but do it in even a cooler way.
Yeah, it'll be fun, man.
I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of work, trust me. Thank you, partner.
Thank you, man. It's always a pleasure.
We're out. Until next time, we'll see you live.